Hello, everyone. It's William here at Allegory Gallery, and I am again in my home office. Um, I've been to Star Cottage Studio today to do some work. I've been to the store today to do some work, and now I am here. This is my last kind of stop back home, um, and that's because we ran to the vet today. So update on Babette for anybody who is interested. Trying to keep people up to date if you are. I don't want to talk too much today. It's the end of the week and I am worn out. So we're going to keep this fairly short today. I know you all probably have a lot to do for the weekend and you're getting ready for the weekend. So, or maybe you're going out tonight to do something. So keep this short for everybody. But we got a call from the vet this morning, and Babette, they found no infection. There was no bacteria that grew in her cultures, which I don't know if I consider that a good thing or a bad thing. It's something that it's good that she doesn't seem to have an infection there, but that also means that it's not something that's causing some of her issues. So it's hard to think one way or the other whether you want something like that, so that it might be causing the issue with her kidneys. But the other thing is they could not see her urinary tract very well, so there could still be a slight infection or some kind of infection in there, or she could have some somewhere else that's causing her kidneys to have issues. So it's hard either way to know what to do, but they gave us antibiotics anyway because they said with the way her kidneys looked and the way that things are, they said there could still be an infection, and it seems like there might be. And they said sometimes the labs don't come back with anything and there's still something there. So she is on antibiotics starting today, and she will be there for 2 weeks. But today she was playing a little bit with Andrew earlier this morning, and then she came up on the bed. That was before I got up, and then she came up again apparently to wake me up. I didn't even know she was there before. I started breaking out in hives a little bit because, as many of you know, I get hives from my thyroid that happen whenever. So I started breaking out. So I took Benadryl last night and knocked myself out. It was about 4 a.m. So I didn't know anything that happened pretty much before I woke up today. And then I heard her starting to come up today, and she seemed a little sluggish. So I was worried, but I did not realize that she had been up playing and doing things with Andrew before that, because he was still sleeping when I woke up. So that was this morning with Babette, and I just got back from the vet. They mixed up her antibiotics, and we're starting her on those. And so yeah, that's the update. She seems to be doing good. We're doing well, and we're hoping that it continues. She seems to be getting close to back to her old self. When I came home today, she came running out to the kitchen door like she often used to greet me, mostly to either ask for food or to go out. But she did come running out, and she hasn't been doing that recently. If you just saw a tell, that's Gilbert. Yesterday I had Barnaby in my lap during this live, and today Gilbert is hanging out with me in my lap. I asked him if he was going to come and help me work today, so he came up, and he's now comforting me and sitting in my lap. Barnaby was having some issues this morning. I don't know if it's sympathetic issues. His stomach was upset this morning, so that had me a little bit riled up, and just everything in my head. So Andrew says I got up super early and spent the morning with her, and see, I didn't know that, so I thought she was tired and didn't know why she seemed sluggish again today. But it seems like she had a busy morning with Andrew, so that's good. And she seems to be in good spirits and is running around, is asking to go out. But it's raining here in Ligonier. I don't know if you can see how gray it is. There's not much sun back here out my window. It's very gray. It's very rainy today, which has my energy at about 0. I've pushed through for the last few hours, but after this live, I think I'm going to take it a little bit easy. I had some work for my other job to work on this morning and finish up, and yeah, it's a rainy, tired. I'm going to be like blinking very slowly. I'm going to put everyone to sleep probably watching. But yeah, it's a rainy, tired day here in Ligonier. And but the one thing that was good is because it was rainy. I don't know if that's good or not. Because it was rainy, the parking meters in front of the store were open today. And even though it was raining, imagine that we had some customers who came in today. Um, not a lot because of the rain. The rain holds people back too, but people were parking and they were stopping in. So it's amazing what can happen when you actually have parking in front of your store again. Um, I don't know how long the construction is going to take. From what I've heard, it's supposed to rain most of this weekend, and so they're not really planning the detour like they have been. So hopefully we'll have parking meters open most of the weekend. And there's a big event in town. The Whiskey and Wine Walk is happening. Um, so I think they were trying hard to get the meters open for that so that they could have that that event. I hope that brings people in. The events are sometimes hit or miss here in town. People come in for the events, but generally they have they have a judging system where if you participate in the event, you go around, you taste wine and whiskey, and you vote for your best. And when people vote for anything, what ends up happening is they beeline to do the taste test, and then they beeline to the next one. They don't really look around in the stores, and they don't really pay attention to what's around them so much. So we are hoping that even maybe it will rain and people will hang out in the stores a little longer instead of going in and out of the rain so much. So we'll see what's happening. Um, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it brings people into town. Our chamber is big on producing events. So we'll see. I think this one, I don't know if it's sold out or if it's sold well. I think they said that it sold well, the tickets for it. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're hoping to have a fairly busy weekend. We can use it. Things have been slow. We've talked about this a little bit. And if you've seen my personal posts, you really know my thoughts on the matter, maybe. But things have been insanely slow. And the no parking in front of our shop does not help anything. So that's what's going on here today. Let me jump back in some of the comments and see what's going on. Hello, Susan. Hello, Marianne. Hello, Norma. And I think if I remember correctly, I think, Norma, you sent me an email. I have to get back to you. I'm pretty sure. I saw that this morning. I usually try and do my emails later in the evening because I just don't have time throughout the day to do them. But I think I did see one. So I do have it. I'm not ignoring you. Just with everything going on, I haven't gotten to some of my emails here recently, but I hope to sit down tonight and kind of figure that out before we head into the weekend. Let's see here. Thank you for all the good vibes, everyone. Hello, Terry. I think, Terry, you also sent me an email, if I'm not mistaken, and I have to check out some things for you, but I will get to that. Don't worry. I did see it. It did arrive in the inbox. It's not in junk, so have that. Susan said it's damp there too. Hello, Suzanne. Rainy in Canada, says Mary Ann. Hello, Sarah. Thanks for tuning in. Yes, Terry, customers are good. We had a few people in shopping. We didn't have many sales. I think people were just kind of moseying around a little bit, but that's okay. Anytime people see the inside of the store is good. That's what I think. It's better to have sales, right? But it's good when people come in. At least they know what you have, and they kind of can tell their friends. If they know somebody who likes beads or crystals or rocks or fossils, they can let their friends know, hey, I was in this shop in Ligonier and they have this. So we hand out a lot of cards on days like that. And especially for this event coming up, if we do get people in the shop, we'll probably be handing out a lot of cards. So it's always good to see people no matter what, whether there are sales or not. Like I said, sales are best, but having people in town is a good thing. Andrew said it's good the parking lots, the meters are open. I did a test and it's 5 blocks from the municipal lot. Yeah, people have to walk 5 blocks. And if you have issues with walking, some of our regulars and customers do. Whether it's a disability or just having a hard time walking, Some days I have a hard time walking. Um, so I get it. And having something 5 blocks away to park is not easy. Now there is parking down the street, which I do not understand. Um, they have blocked off our road for a detour. If you don't know the story, they blocked off our road for a detour because we have a roundabout in town, and the main roundabout that heads to the highway on the south side, I should be doing it this way, on the south side is closed. So when people come around, they come around and they go out our strip of road now, which you think would be great because we should be getting a lot of traffic driving by the store. But in front of the stores, the first 2 blocks mainly have merchants on them. And there are some down the street even further. But the first 2 blocks have a lot of the merchants. And they've blocked those off. But starting on the 3rd block and all the way down, there are no blocked off parking spots. So technically people could still park there and walk a block or so. It's not as convenient, but it's possible. But I don't understand why they had to block off right in front of the merchants when the next block over they didn't block off. They said it's because trucks have a hard time getting through because they're so large. But we get school buses through every day, and if they're not blocking off the 3rd block and beyond, then there's no reason to block off the 1st and 2nd that I can see. But it is what it is, right? And the powers that be do what they need to do and what they have to do, I guess. So it's been difficult. We've watched our in-store numbers drop. During the few weeks that the parking meters were blocked, we were down. We did about 1/4 of the business we normally do in store during that time. So it's really hard. It's really hard. Our numbers were down for the whole month because of that by about half. And then compile that with our numbers being down because Andrew was blocked on Facebook, and our Facebook reach was much less during that time period. We did about half as much business that month, last month, as we normally do. So that's why we're trying to raise money for Babette's vet bills, because one, we're down, and it's an unexpected thing to have happen. But we are down by quite a bit from last month, and we're trying to do our best to recoup some of that and continue on with this month. Marianne says sometimes people do shop when it's raining. Yes, and that's the good thing. Once people get out and they get into a shop, the rain sometimes keeps them there longer, so they look longer, especially if it's raining off and on, because if you get a downpour, people will stay inside and look longer. Which is kind of nice sometimes. And you get to talk with people. My favorite thing really is talking with the people and getting to know them. So it's nice when that happens. People are more chatty when it's raining for whatever reason, probably because they feel stuck in the shop, so they may as well chat. So that's a good thing. Susan says your town does seem to have interesting events. We do have a lot of nice events in town. Our chamber does a really good job of making events. And so hopefully this whiskey and wine walk coming up this weekend will be a good one for everybody. Our neighbor next door, Sensational Ideas, that I shared some pictures of on my timeline, and talked about them opening. They are having their grand opening tomorrow as well. So that's around 3 p.m. I think. So if you're in town and you're local and you're watching this, please be sure to go over there. They're having their ribbon cutting. I think they said at 3 p.m. So hopefully that will also help with people coming around and visiting. Andrew says, we've had people come in the shop and do the taste test and then come back later and say, I've never been in your shop. And we're like, yeah, you actually were. We remember you. That happens a lot during the big events. People come in and they're so blinded either by the size of the crowd, and they're just, if you're in a very crowded event, you kind of put your blinders on and you just kind of walk, right? And so during our big event in town, when 200-some thousand people come into town, we often get people saying, I've never been in here before. I'm like, actually, we talked to you last year when you came in and so it happens with smaller events too, when they do the voting and stuff, because people are so fixated on tasting as much as they can so that they can vote for their favorites. Plus, it's wine and whiskey. Who doesn't want to do a tasting, right? But yeah, they're so fixated on that they don't actually look at the stores they're going into, because they usually put wine and whiskey inside the stores. So they pair a brewery or a vineyard with, or distillery, I guess, a distillery or a vineyard. They pair it with a shop and they put the stuff in one of the shops. That's sometimes how they do it. Sometimes they put it around the center of town. I'm not sure what's happening tomorrow. I'm hoping they're putting them in the shops, but I didn't get the notice on that. So I don't know how they're going to work this one. Sometimes, like I said, they just put it around. We have a roundabout, we call it the diamond. And sometimes they just put the tents around the diamond and people taste that way, which does severely kind of hurt business because people don't walk from that center. It's great for the shops that are right around that area, but for the shops on the outskirts, which we've always been, it's not the greatest thing, because it doesn't give any reason for anybody to move from that area. So I'm hoping they put it in the shops and there will be more things happening around us, but we'll see. And the thing is, like I said, if you have stuff in your shop to taste, like we've tried that before, it does get into the point where things are a little bit, people put on their blinders and they're ready to check off their favorites and move on to the next. So it is difficult sometimes. The events are fun, and we do a lot of events in a year here in town. But sometimes for the merchants, they're not always the best way to drum up publicity, right? It's great for the town to see people come in, and it's a great way to introduce the town itself to people. But a little bit, I personally believe a little focus on the merchants would be a little bit better, instead of just the breweries or just what actually the event is about. Suzanne said they had some rain and flooding there in New Orleans. Oh no, I hope you're okay. Did you get flooded out? I hope not. Let's see here. Terry has a cart waiting to see. We cannot incorporate anything in store with your online shopping cart. So I'll just say that as a general thing. That's good for people to know. We have two different inventory systems. There's the online store shopping cart, and then there's the in-store inventory system. They do not mesh. So if you would like to buy something in store and buy something online, the very best way to do that, make your purchase in the online store. Complete that purchase. That way, the shipping amount will be on there that's calculated for what you've purchased in the online store. And then if you need anything else, when you make your purchase online, just put a note that it's waiting for in-store questions or waiting for in-store products. And that will tell our shipping helpers, if they're packing the package instead of me, that they're waiting for something from me to find. And then complete that purchase. And then you can email us and ask, I just made a purchase online. Can you combine this and this and this from the physical store? And I will see what I can find in the physical store, and we will send you a separate invoice for that. And sometimes there will be shipping on that separate invoice, and sometimes there won't. It just depends if it can combine. If it's the same weight or around the same general weight and package size, then I don't have to add shipping sometimes, because you've already paid shipping in the online store. But the very best thing to do is check out in the online store, because I don't want you to miss out. You can put stuff in your cart in the online store, but somebody can buy it out from under you while it's in your cart. Our shopping cart does not hold things, putting them in the cart. And that's for a very specific reason. We've had some groups and things and some other shopping carts where if you put it in, it holds the items. And then we found that people will put things in the shopping cart as kind of a wish list, and it looks like it's not available to other people. So other people who actually really do want it right now couldn't get it. So our shopping cart does not hold items. You can find that sometimes when you go to check out, it'll say that this item is no longer available, or it won't show up in your order because somebody else bought it. So the best thing to do if you have an order online that you're purchasing or you're gathering and you want to know about in-store stuff, just finish the stuff that you want online, get that done, and then I will come back with answers about stuff in store, and I can send you a separate invoice for those. I wish we had the same inventory system both ways, but because we started with one inventory system and we've had it since 2011 in the store, it would take a momentous amount of energy to switch everything over to the online store inventory system to use it in store. We really love Square. Square has been insanely good to us. And so we use that in store and we use Shopify online. So I really don't want to get rid of either one of them. It does help in some ways. It keeps our inventory separate so that you cannot. The other issue with that too is if we had everything in one inventory system and somebody bought something online and you picked it up in the store, we might get an order saying, oh, we have to take this out of your basket actually because somebody just bought it online. And that's a really horrible thing to have to do to somebody. And I don't like that kind of discussion. So that's another reason we don't combine the inventory systems is we don't want to have to say, oh, you made it to checkout here in store, but I just got an order online and they bought it before you, so I need to take it out of your basket and sell it to them. Well, it's already been sold to them. So it gets messy. It's a little bit messy with two inventory systems, but it actually I think is the safest of all kind of methods right now for us in the way that we do our business. So Terry, that's not just for you. We get that question probably multiple times a week, especially when we do these lives where we're selling stuff, or we do especially when we do a video of showing off the store. When we do a tour of the store, we get a lot of those questions and people are like, I'm holding this, waiting for your answer. Don't wait for my answer if you're doing an online order as well. Just do the online order, unless the question is about the online order. But if it's about something in store, don't wait for me. Sometimes I'm behind in my emails, especially when things go on for us. So please complete any online order you have. Then we'll worry about the rest after. Just put a note on the order that you're waiting for questions or waiting for answers from in-store products or something to that effect. Just to, if I'm not packing up the package, that our shipping helpers will know, whoa, don't send this quite yet. We may have more to add to it. Okay. Let's see here. Terry says, I agree. We have a lovely little bead shop an hour away with so many things, but you don't know from the outside, right? People have to go in to see. You want people to walk in the door. We have so many people that walk by. We have nice, beautiful big windows in our storefront, which is amazing. And we try to put a variety of things in the windows so people can see, but you can't show people everything. You can't get a complete picture of a store just by looking in the windows. And I highly encourage, if you're in a small town with small businesses, don't just look in the window. If you're visiting, please just step in the store. The majority of the time, the store owners are not going to be upset if you come in, walk around, talk a little bit, and leave. We would rather you come in and see what we have and have the possibility to tell a friend or a relative about something you saw than if you just look in the windows and walk away. It's really more beneficial to us as store owners to have you see things. Even if you're not purchasing, maybe you're not planning on making a purchase. I would rather somebody walk in and say, I'm not really shopping today. I just want to see what you have. I love that. That's fine. Because you may see something that the next day or a week later, or maybe you'll remember it when you're looking for a gift and you say, I was in a really cute shop and I wasn't buying anything that day, but now I need something. We would rather have that than have you look in the window or peek in the door and then leave. So just an FYI. I know not every store owner is probably like that. You get some people who are like, well, people are just walking in and walking out. I would rather have you walk in and walk out than not walk in at all. 100%. Hello, Harry. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. Oh, Andrew said across the street, the business isn't even open. Why do they need the parking? Right? Don't know. Have no idea. We have a bed and breakfast across the street. And I guess they technically are opening, but they're only letting people in the back door and they have a parking lot. So they really could have shut down the entire second block where we're at on the other side, which means they would have had to shut down the second block on the first block on the other side, but they would have actually blocked less businesses or fewer businesses from having issues with parking. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, and as Andrew said, a lot of the parking has gotten taken up, so it's like Battle Dome to get free spots. Yeah, it's hard. Terry's asking about, would we consider doing a monthly subscription box, perhaps with a kit and random surprise? We have thought about that. I'm never going to say no necessarily, but we already, we're kind of at max where we are with being able to keep up with orders. As many of you know, we were a little bit behind because we moved the online store over to Star Cottage Studio. We got behind on orders. Any little thing can already put us behind, and to promise that we are definitely going to get something out every month at a specific time is difficult for as small as we are. We may look big. We have a lot of products. We do a lot of videos. We're on social media all the time. So some people think we're much bigger than we are. We are not. And really, we're doing okay with some of the help that we have. But if we lose anybody, things grind to a halt. We're like just on that precipice of, kind of trying to achieve the next level. But if we fall back in any way, we fall far. And so promising a monthly subscription is something that we've considered, and we're not saying no to, at least I'm not saying no to this. I don't know if Andrew said anything more in the comments or not. I don't want to say no necessarily, but it takes a massive amount of effort. And we have had friends who have much more help and many more employees and things than we do, and they've had a hard time keeping up with subscription boxes and have canceled them in some cases. So we would rather just offer you exciting things and let you purchase them rather than trying to work into all that and disappointing anybody with not being able to keep up. Let's see here. Nancy said, nonstop rain here in Leechburg today. I'm about 25 miles east of Pittsburgh. Good vibes. Yeah, as Andrew said, I didn't know that you were so close either. That's nice. That's nice. Good to know. Says I'm a stone throw away. I did not realize that. Pam says, I like the idea of pairing in the shops. It can be good and it can be bad. Like I said, it's great to, one, coordinate with another vendor. That's a wonderful thing, and you get to know people. I've known some people in the wineries now, and some people that we do an event called Soups On, where they put a restaurant with soup in your store. And so that's all wonderful. But like I said, sometimes it's people just beelining to the product and then leaving. What I really wish is if they took more time, and if they're going to put someone, for example, in our store, say we have a winery in our store, if the questionnaire and the things that they're filling out not only asked about the winery, but asked specific questions about the store that the winery is paired with, that would be something that would really help, would really help, I think, get some more attention. If they were forced to look around our store to answer a question or like do a trivia with that, I think it would be a much better way to pair two things instead of pairing two things together and hoping that people just walking in and out for that one thing is going to help the other. So, I mean, it's all things that, we try to do suggestions when we can, when we've come up with something. And it's something I've been thinking about over these past few days, a lot about what's going on and how things run in town. And so I have some suggestions that I want to write up. And I think trying to come up with something where not only the food or beverage item is taken into consideration, but also the merchant that they're in with. Hello, Lorraine. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here. Andrew says, it always seems like there are challenges with events that we don't plan. He said, I think we should start up our own again. That way it's more focused on our business. Yeah. And, you know, when we partner with other businesses in town and do like a block party, we've done that a number of times. Sometimes the danger is in doing that is that it becomes something that the chamber kind of sees and takes over. So you hear the chamber doing an event that sounds a lot like the one that you just did. And so, you know, everybody wants to take a good idea and run with it and try to make it good for everybody, but sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes working with the merchants who are on your block or who are within a few blocks of you and just getting together and you all working on something can work a lot better, because each of you or each of them know what your store needs and know what works for your store. You know, I talk a lot about the events, and I always preface it, or, you know, suffix it, is that the word? With the idea that we are a specialty business. We are different than some shops in town. A lot of shops in town are gift shops and things like that. And when you're walking into a gift shop, anybody in the world could walk into a gift shop and possibly find something they like. When you're walking into a bead store and you're not a jewelry maker, that's a limited clientele. You're limiting the clientele even more just by being a bead store, right? So it's not that, like, we put gift things in there and we have handmade jewelry and we have home goods that we've incorporated into our store, but that doesn't always, it's not the same. It's not the same. People, you know, that's why I do say, please walk through other stores if you're visiting a town, or, you know, you may look in and see, like, people look in and probably see crystals and beads and they say, that's not what I want, but we have a lot more. But each individual store knows their own store. They know their customer base. They know what they want to present to the world. And when the chamber or a large organization does a big event, they don't know these small things if they don't get to know you better. So they don't know what you need. They don't know the issues you have with certain things and the way things happen. And so they just think, oh, we're bringing a ton of people to town. That's great. But it's not always great. It's not always what the stores need. So when you do a smaller event, like we do some block parties and things we used to do before the pandemic, the stores can get together and they can focus the advertising and focus the method of making the whole event work on what needs to be done for the stores. And so that's something that I think we should get together. I've been talking about block parties again with some of our neighboring merchants, and most of them are in for it. So I think we need to start looking at that together as a group of merchants, rather than relying on the bigger events that the chamber does. Like I said, they bring a lot of people to town, and that seems to be their goal, is to hold events that bring people to town. But those people also have to know what's available in town, and they have to, you know, have a reason to come into the stores while they're in town. Hello, Helen. Thank you for tuning in. Terry says, done, got your order. I think I saw your order come through. So thank you so much. We did do a test run of synchronized inventory talking about, sorry, I'm choking on something. We did try to do the same inventory before at one point, and it was a mess. There were times that we oversold things online because we didn't see the order come in before a person purchased it in store. And then we had to refund the online order and disappoint people one way or the other. It's not good. It's a nightmare. Terry said, I just didn't know if it would skew the shipping estimate. It can sometimes. But generally, if we need to add a little bit more shipping, we can add a little bit more shipping to the invoice that we send with the in-store items. Let's see. Yeah, as Andrew said too, there's just the idea of when people come into the shop, the energy stays up. You talk to people and you know, there's this excitement. Even if they're not buying things, there's this excitement of, oh, good, another one came in the door. Oh, good, here's someone new to talk to. Oh, good, there's more people in town. You get that energy, and that energy carries on through me having the energy, for example, to come home then and say, oh, we had a good day. Let me post some things online, or let me talk about what we did today, or let me show some more things. You have energy, right? When it's slow, when you don't have a single customer in all day, you just get run down. And you come home and you're run down, and everything is just run down. And so, having people come in the door and people being able to easily make it into your door is really important. Hello, Janice. Thank you for tuning in today. Let's see. Andrew says, I hate soups on. Sorry, not sorry. It makes the store sink. That's an event we have. They put soup in the stores, like I said, and it can make your store. I think we had a lobster bisque or something one time. The whole store smelled like seafood for quite a while. And we have silks in store, and we have fabrics that we sell. We sell like indigo African mud cloths and scarves and canvas bags and silk for your jewelry. And when you have a food purchase that smells, you want the food to smell. That's what a restaurant wants, so that people smell it and come in. But when you have that in a store for 5 or 6 hours in a day, you can have issues with fabrics. So the last time that we had food in our store, we had to clear out the area, the room that it was in, of all fabrics, and we moved them to another location. We bagged them up, actually, so they were bagged up, and we moved them to another location because of that. So it can be, and the chamber who puts on these events don't think of these things. They don't know that. So that's why getting in touch with the merchants, I think, is important. And I wish there were a little closer ties in our town with the chamber and the merchants. I sound like I'm complaining probably, but it kind of works both ways. And like I said, I love the events in town. I love that it brings people and it brings energy to town. But there needs to be some kind of, the merchants should be, I think, more involved. We are part of the chamber. We make up the chamber. The chamber wouldn't exist without the membership of the merchants. So I think when they have events, merchant input should be more taken into consideration. Sarah says, suggest that. Also, a punch card they can have filled by completing certain tasks in the stores. Yeah, I think pairing, when you pair stuff together, there has to be something to do in both places. You don't just taste and leave. You have to taste and answer a question about the store they're in or something. Andrew said, honestly, I'm over working with our chamber. We have been members for over 10 years and have consistent issues. There's a lot of drama and work for a little return. I don't like to badmouth, and I don't like to get too negative on these lives, but I'm really this kind of parking issue and some of the other things going on really has me like up to here. And with Babette's health being taken into question and getting to the point, you have that point where you're just done. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. That's kind of where I am, and it's leaking into some other things that already were issues, and it's making those issues feel bigger and be bigger in my mind. And that's something that I think, as you all can see, with our chamber, we've been members of the chamber for years. There was a time that we were not members, and that's because we asked them if they could show us where the money goes. If I'm paying a membership, I would like to know, especially for, I think it's a nonprofit, I would like to know where the money is used, and they would not provide us with any paperwork. So I refused to join. I don't like to give my money to an organization that you can't see what's going on. I think that's only normal. But we had a really good director at one point, and he convinced us to join, and we've just kind of been joining ever since, again, even though he left after 2 years, not for any issue other than his wife got a job farther away. But we've just continued joining, but we've not seen the dynamic work that he used to do. And so we're questioning again now whether we're joining or not. And, I know this really isn't what you expected on this live, and I'm sorry. But it is considerations, and I hope it gives you some perspective for if you do have a small town with shops, or you visit a small town with shops. Um, there are things that go on that, it's not always just cute and scenic. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, and we used to get a lot of questions why we weren't members. Why wouldn't you join the chamber? They're an organization for the merchants. And we had our reasons. And, if we know somebody well enough, we would tell them. But we're to the point now where we pretty much tell anyone who asks. Um, and it's one of those things. You see a lot of the same thing happening, but you don't see it affecting you in a positive way. So I can honestly say that I haven't been visited by anyone from our chamber in months. They don't come into the shop. They don't visit just to say hi. They don't stop in to see how you are, other than if they're handing you something that they want you to put in your window for an event. So that's really disheartening to me. The previous chamber director, who we joined again for, used to stop in every other week or so and just say hi, even if it was for nothing else. Yeah. And in 10 years, 10 or 11 years that we've been in town in business, I think we've had 6 or 7 chamber directors. So it is hard because the chamber starts and restarts a director every few weeks or every few years. And it's hard for anyone to get any momentum, I think, in that position. So it's a difficult thing too. It's a difficult thing too. Helen says, when there are already people in the store, it's less intimidating for others to come in. That too. Ligonier in our area is kind of known as I don't want to say a richy town, because we're not, but it has that kind of, it used to be, it still is. There are still a number of very prominent, wealthy families who live here. They don't necessarily live right in town. They have estates, very large estates on the outskirts. But because of that, and because it's full of small businesses, a lot of people assume that we're stuck up, or we're stuffy, or that, our things are too expensive. And so when people come in with any type of attitude like that, or they've heard that from someone, it really is disheartening, because fewer people stop in. But when they see a lot of people in the store, then they say, oh, well, this store has a lot of people. It must be a good shop to be in. Let's go. And so that does. You're right, Helen. It helps a lot. Let's see here. Susan says, if it weren't for the businesses, the chamber would not be needed. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I wish sometimes the entire town took us into consideration a little bit more, because without the merchants, and I'm including restaurants in that, without the merchants, our town, it would have a museum and a fort. We're Fort Ligonier from the French and Indian War. So it would have a fort and a museum for the fort. And I'm sure it would make some type of travel destination for people with that. But without the merchants in town, the town wouldn't be much of anything special. There would be no reason for people to necessarily come and visit. We have wonderful, like there are mountains to hike in and things like that. But to actually to come into town and to spend money in town, and kind of keep those property values up, there would be little reason to do that. So that's why it frustrates me when I see the merchants not being consulted, or being told, or being, letting them plan for things like their meters are all going to be blocked in front of their store. We weren't told about that in advance. Apparently it was on an app somewhere, an app that I didn't even know about, and I'm pretty tech savvy, and I try and stay up with things. But so I can't imagine that a lot of the merchants who don't even get on Facebook even knew about it. So it's frustrating, and I don't mean to let all my frustrations out on all of you, but I hope that in some way this helps you, when you go into a small town and it has little shops. I hope you think about some of these things and take time to visit them and get to know the owners and just, talk to the people. If the owners are willing to talk, say hi and, strike up a conversation and, of course, purchase something if you can, but um, even just going in and talking, it really helps. When I'm having a bad day and I'm thinking of all these things that, this is going wrong and they're not doing this and I wish they'd do this, and somebody comes in and just has a really great conversation with me, it clears that all up. And it makes everything a lot better, which is probably why I talk to you sometimes out there about these things, because just getting it off my chest and having you all understand and reply back and have this conversation with me in a way helps. It helps a lot, and it helps keep our energy clean and in the good area instead of the negative area. Pam asked, does the chamber have monthly meetings for business? They do. Unfortunately, they're at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and that doesn't work. And if you miss the meeting, there's no way really to get notes from the meeting, or it's usually an in-person meeting. Over the pandemic, they had a few Zoom meetings, but they went right back to in-person breakfasts. I don't get up at 7 or 8 in the morning. It's not for me. I could make that effort, but I wouldn't be ready for something at that time. And like I said, there's no way to actually get notes on the meeting or give input to the meeting beforehand. Like if you wanted to announce something, but you can't make the meeting, they give no easy way to do that. And they don't let you know what happened in the meeting afterwards. So there is a meeting. It's just in the wrong time slot for probably a lot of people, actually. A lot of the merchants don't even live in town. So to come into a meeting a few hours before your store actually opens is difficult. So the meetings, I don't know that they're that well attended, but they do have them. That is one thing they do have. Andrew says, I don't think it's negative to be realistic. During the height of the pandemic, there was no help. All of the resources we tapped into were ones we researched and put the effort in to discover. I'll never forget that. It's true. They didn't really help search out grants for the merchants. They didn't even do they could have just come into our stores and done a member spotlight. I mean, they have a few thousand people that read their web page, their Facebook page and their website. But they didn't come into the stores during the pandemic, not once, to take pictures or, to share the news that we exist. They just canceled all the events because they couldn't have events. And I honestly do not know what the chamber spent their time or energy doing during the pandemic, because they were not out visiting members. And so, as Andrew said, maybe it's not negative, maybe it is realistic, and we're just getting tired of this realism that we're living in right now. But I will say, back in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, many of you have watched our Around the Town series. The reason we started that series, where we go into other shops and other restaurants and publicize them for free, we do it for free, we do it just for the publicity of Ligonier, the town itself. We started all of that because the chamber won't do it. I talked to somebody today, and the chamber has an intern right now, which is just a college kid, which is great. Nothing against that, but the intern changes very often because it's just a college kid. So I guess they have started doing some kind of membership Mondays, or I think they show one merchant a month. I think that's what they were doing. Maybe they've changed it since, but and they were surprised. This other merchant told me that the chamber was surprised that it was actually bringing in business and that it was helping. So they think they might have to do it even when the intern leaves. And it's talk like that really astounds me. Like I said, we've been doing our Around the Town series since 2018 with any merchant who wants to. We do it for free. We take our time. We don't ask for anything from the other merchants. We devote our time to going in and filming their store, whatever they want to talk about their business. We point everybody in the descriptions and in the video to their websites or their Facebook pages. We do it for free because we want to publicize Ligonier. We believe in our town and in our fellow merchants. I just wish that the chamber believed in them like that. So it is hard. It's hard. Let's see here. And I'm behind in the comments. So I'm sorry. And I'm sorry this is actually a lot longer of a live than I thought. I did not expect to get into this today because I am so worn out. But it helps to talk. So I hope you don't mind. Nancy says social interaction is key. I'm starving for it. I think a lot of people are. I do. And that's why, I can't put down the events entirely that the chamber does because it brings people to town. Whether it brings them into the stores is a question. That's questionable. But it brings people into town and it does bring people together. And it is a way to socially interact. And we're not after the pandemic yet. I don't mean to say after because we're still in it. And that's what people have to realize. I think we have this mindset that the pandemic was these past 2 years and we're moving out of it, but we're not. And we have to keep that in our minds. We are still going through this. As much as we want it to be over, we are still very much going through a pandemic and a recession. And that interaction is key for people. And it really is. Cynthia says, sound like they don't have a purpose except collecting dues. They collect dues and they put on big events if there's not a pandemic that stops them. What they do, like I said, what they did during the pandemic with the money that we paid in, and I don't know. They had an intern who was going around to stores and actually doing videos and filming, and they were sending out questionnaires about your shop to talk about. And what I was told is the board of the chamber would not let those be done. And I don't know why. And maybe my information is wrong. But I was told that was the reason that they were never published, is that they weren't given enough time to actually work on that. And they weren't allowed to release those for some reason. So I think that should be the major point of the chamber, is to advertise the individual businesses that are members, not necessarily to be an event production company. But who am I? I'm just one member out of many. Andrew said, I used to go to the meetings, the chamber meetings, the breakfasts. At first I thought, wow, they're really doing a lot to plan these events. Then the second year rolled around and it was basically the exact same meeting. I thought I was having a Groundhog's Day moment. Yeah, I've been to a few of the chamber breakfasts. And a lot of times all they are the merchants getting up in front of one another and telling each other what their sales are going to be or what event they're planning in their own store, which is great. But that's just the merchants talking to one another, which we do often anyway. So it's not really, there wasn't a lot of communication coming down from the chamber itself about what was happening. There was never questions like, what can we do for you, or how can we help you? It was really just a moment for the merchants to get together and talk about what they're doing individually. So that's one of the other reasons I don't wake up in the morning to go to them, because I will publicize on my own Facebook or our Facebook and to you all what we're doing. I don't need to get up early just to tell other people what we're doing. I'll walk to their stores and let them know if I need to. Janice says, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Andrew says, we do a lot of small business research, and one of the things that experts in the industry say is not to hand over your social media to interns. Basically, you're putting your forward face in the hands of someone who's not financially invested and or does not have a deep, meaningful understanding of your business. It's true. And that's what happens with the chamber. But if it's not the interns doing it, they don't do it anyway. So that's a hard thing. it's just hard. It's hard in general. But I'm not going to keep going on about this. Lorraine says, you did a great job of videoing other shops. Thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed them. They're still available, and most of their shops are, most of them are still around. They survived so far in the pandemic, like we're surviving so far in the pandemic. We're barely hanging in there on the physical shop in the retail store at this point, I would say. It's getting very close to if we have to make the decision to close, because of whether it continues to, at least pay for itself, and cover its own expenses. But we'll see. We'll see. We love having events. We love having classes, having art openings, having a place for people to come to actually look and feel and touch the beads. That's so important to a jewelry maker. So we're trying our best to hang on. We don't want to be just an online store, but we're not opposed to that if that's what it takes. We'll see. We'll see. Andrew said, I think a lot of the other merchants have their frustrations, but they are happy to have what is available, like feasting on scraps. I sometimes feel that way too. I sometimes feel that they're just happy to have some help, especially, see, this is the thing. A lot of the store owners, even themselves, aren't on Facebook, or they don't really use social media. A lot of them in town have been in town for a long time. They don't even have a website. They don't sell things online. So they really rely on whatever happens in town. And so they're just happy when they get any little bit of business or any little increase. But coming from people like us who sell online, who publicize themselves almost to exhaustion, we know that there's more out there. And, when you can see this untapped potential and you just see everyone not caring to do it, especially when you're paying money to an organization that should be doing it, it becomes very difficult, exceptionally difficult. Yeah, we don't want to feast on scraps. We would not be here. I can honestly 100% say that if we relied on our chamber to help publicize for us, we would not still be in Ligonier. 100%. We would not have our shop. If we didn't do and take it upon ourselves to have our own events with other fellow merchants and, do our own thing. If we just relied on the organization that we're paying to do the publicity, we wouldn't be around. Let's see here. Sandy says just cancel the membership and go forward if it's not up to your expectations. That's easy for us because we can do it. But what we see is a larger problem. And we hope that when we talk to people about this, and if we get enough people together, we can make a change for them. We are very much the rising tide raises all boats kind of people. But, when the tide goes down, it goes down for everyone too. And so if we pull out and we don't give our input and we don't talk to people about this, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't get better. That's, yes, we will probably pull out of the chamber, but that doesn't help our fellow merchants who are relying on it or are hoping for it, or, it's a hard thing. And, you hate to make that decision because you don't want to see your friends, you know that by sometimes saying things and hopefully saying them enough, you can help make a change when there's a difference out there, when there's a different world that can be tapped into, and they may not know about it, but they're still relying on it, and they don't see that there's so much more out there. So that's why, we are about community at Allegory Gallery. This is not just for us. I don't get upset at these things just for us because I don't need the chamber. I can 100% say we don't need it. We've been members and we've not been members, but I see our fellow merchants paying to be in this organization, and I want them to get more out of it. I want the community to get more out of it. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe I should be more selfish, or we should be more selfish, but it's we're not selfish people generally. If you've watched us for any amount of time, community is our whole thing. And we always say, whether that's all of you out there in our virtual community or that's here locally, and this is a local issue. And, you know, we've been this close to starting, you know, I've talked to a number of merchants and a number of people who want to start another, you know, kind of chamber organization to help the merchants. And it's just no one has time. That's one of those things too. So yeah, we don't, you know, just pulling out that's fine for us, but it doesn't help the larger picture and our friends who don't know how to, you know, don't know how to do social media well, or are relying and they think that this is going to really help them. So we try to look at it from everyone's viewpoint. Andrew said, it's just tired having the town ripped up every few years and not have a contingency plan. I felt like Chicken Little saying the sky is falling and people were like, no, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's true. We don't get told a lot of times in advance that things are happening. Do you think social media has affected the chamber's actions? The chamber doesn't really use social media much. I think the chamber, honestly, is, we're a small town. And I think that a lot of people in the chamber are still running on the kind of rule book that was printed and developed before social media became a thing. So I think we're running in social media times using a playbook that was not developed in social media times. That's what I really feel. That's how I feel about that. So I'm down to the end of the comments. And since I'm down to the end of the comments, I'm going to stop that. Because I know a lot of you don't come here for that. But, you know, I think it's good. I think, you know, everything that we talk about, you learn a little bit about us. And hopefully it encourages you to, you know, think about things a little bit. It helps me think about things to talk about them. And yeah, hopefully it builds the community a little bit. But now I'm going to flip the camera around and we're going to get to business. And hopefully I didn't bore the tears out of everybody. But I know y'all don't come here just to see stuff for sale. And that's what I love about these online lives. If you want to see the stuff for sale, I think people are learning probably by now that if you just want to see the sale stuff, fast forward after the live, do a rewatch, fast forward till you can see the desk, and then you know, okay, this is where they're actually going to show me stuff. But if you like to listen to the talk that's going on, I hope it's you know, I hope it gives you some viewpoints and some new ways of looking at things. So yeah, let's take a look an hour in, which I didn't even think this was going to be an hour long total. We're going to start looking at just the few remaining vintage things that I pulled at the beginning of the week to show you today. All right, so let me flip this camera around. First, I'm going to drop this down and we're going to flip the camera here. I still have a Gilbert on my lap. He's resting nicely, although I'm moving around a little bit now, and he's starting to maybe move around a little bit here. So let's take a look at some gemstone, some check glass strands. Oh, you getting up, Gilbert? What you doing? There you go. Okay, he's going to the window. He heard some birds out there, I think, and smelled some air coming in. Okay, so let's take a look at some I keep saying gemstones. Check glass strands, vintage check glass. A few more of them here. Some of these are in the online store, some are not. But if you would like to purchase them from this video, all you have to do is do what that's saying down there. To purchase from this video, take a screenshot of what you'd like and send it to us in an email at info@allegorygallery.com. All right. I think I've replied to anybody who sent anything in claiming anything over Monday and yesterday. So if you did not hear from me, please resend that message. But I think I got back to everybody, so you know what you're paying for already, and you can add to it today if you wish. All right. Let's see here. Marion says, love the talk and it helps me with being more empathetic, right? I think you can't, it's hard to understand things if you don't know, right? And I hope it sheds some light on, sometimes when I'm here and I feel tired and you can tell that I'm a little bit groggy or, a little bit perturbed, some of these are the things that are happening. And I think it's helpful for you all to know it's not just, I'm not just, Rawr. There are reasons for it. Okay, so this is vintage check glass, only $6 a strand. And let's see if I get this right today. How many? That's an odd shaped one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pentagon, right? Pentagon shaped tubes. And there's this beautiful metallic blue-green kind of peacock. Yeah, Susan says, if you're ever interested, look up the history of our town. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of interest there. So this is pretty, right? I think so. Lovely peacock colors. There's even some purple, green, purple, blue in some of those. These are vintage. And so if you want those, take a screenshot with your device and send that to me in an email. And I will say this again. We do not check our Facebook messages as often anymore as we used to. We check them once or twice a week. I do check my email generally daily. I can't always get back to people daily, but I do check it daily and start researching things for people. So if you send these to Facebook, just know it could take time or longer to get back to you. But also, one of the reasons I stopped using Facebook is because when people sent us images, they're now downscaling them to the point that they don't actually open any bigger than a tiny little blurb. So I can't see detail. So when you send them in an email, I get much more detail and I can tell things apart more easily for things that are similar. All right. So please email us. That's the best way to communicate. Please never, never, ever, ever, never, ever message me or Andrew personally on Facebook. And you can message me to say hi. Don't message me about products. Don't message Andrew about products. Don't email Andrew about products. Andrew has nothing to do with in-store product shipping or, Andrew buys stuff for the store. Once it's bought, once he's purchased it, he has nothing to do with it after that. And we don't say that to be mean, but if you message me personally about an item in the store, I only check my personal messages generally once I'm just about ready for bed. And what will happen is you will send it to me personally. I will say in my brain, oh, I have to remember tomorrow to look at this personal message during the day so that I can answer this question. And inevitably, I will forget to do that. And the next night, I will look at my personal messages and say, oh, shoot, I forgot to do that. Let me remember to do it tomorrow. And it will go on and on like that until you drop down and I've totally forgotten to do it. So please, email is the best. If you do not get an email back within about 48 business hours, that means Monday through Friday, not counting weekends, everyone. Then either send us another email or send us a message saying, hey, I emailed you, check your junk folder, because sometimes that happens. Okay. And I don't mean to be tough about that or anything, but I want you all to get the best service from us. And the best way to do that is the way I just said. Here is the next one. These are also pentagons. And these are pretty wonderful. I bet these would go with some Ukraine kits that you're all in the Ukraine colors you're all doing. They have that kind of yellow flash with the blue. And yeah, Susan says, doesn't mean about the fort, I mean the actual town and the people. And it's really interesting how the town got started and the things that have been here. We've done some research into it. And it's an interesting town. Okay. So it's like one side of these has that yellow and kind of AB with the yellow background flash, and then the other side has the blue glass. Vintage check glass, $6 a strand. As Andrew said, Ligonier is a great town and we're lucky to be here. We picked to live here and build our business here. Yeah, we made that choice because we love our town, and everything we're saying, it can sound like we're putting the town down or putting people down, but everything we're saying comes from a place of wanting the town to do better and wanting everyone in the town to do better. We want the best for everyone. And when we see things that we think might help, sometimes, and we see them not being done, sometimes it's hard just to stand by and, kind of know that more things could be happening or better things could be happening for everybody. So it gets frustrating sometimes. But we do. We love our town. I mean, we got married here by the mayor. Right in our town, in the town center, we got married last year by the mayor because that's what we wanted to do. You don't do that in a town and by a mayor that you don't like or you don't want to be around. So we love our town, but we just wish sometimes things were a little bit different. Don't we all sometimes, right? But we just have very particular things that we think could be done better. But, then again, I'm sure a lot of people think they could do things in our store and do things in our business that are better. And, sometimes it's hard to know what actually goes on. I've never been the director of the chamber, so I don't know what that position entails, and I don't know how busy that position is. So I know everyone has, their own things. So these are pretty. These are kind of like a gunmetal color almost, and they have some of that AB flash here and there on them. These are vintage Czech glass strands, $6. Again, these are the pentagons. And we're going to stay on the pentagon thing for a little while here. These are red with a silver AB flash on one side, red on the other. Oh, Norma's autocorrect is getting wild. It says, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and once I was driving age, Ligonier was always a favorite day trip. I don't get there very often now, sadly. Yeah, that's the thing, right? We are a day trip for Pittsburgh people, people in the city. And that's why I really wish, we have city people coming into town, and I really wish our social media was better to reach out to them. Because like I said, I think the playbook is being used from pre-social media days. So there's red. And then what else do I have here? We have this beautiful, this is a very light kind of purple with that silver flash on one side. And you can see on the side that doesn't flash, it's transparent. You can actually see the wire through there. But on this side, you can't see that as well, anyway. These are all $6 a strand. If you want any of those, just take a screenshot while I'm holding it here and send it to us in an email. Andrew said, all things thrive in optimal conditions. Sometimes traditions and reasons why things are done a certain way are no longer useful or serves the higher purpose in the mission statement directive. Yeah, the way things used to be aren't the way things are now. And I think an organization that represents a large number of people has to move sometimes more quickly with the times because they have to, suit everybody and they have to do the best for everybody. A lot of the members, like I said, do not do social media. So you expect the organization you're paying money to do your publicity and help you with that knows social media well. That's something that you want. That's a reason why you pay. So you do have to move with the times, I think, a little bit faster. You can't be the last one to catch up when you are representing a large group of people who need your assistance. Oh, Suzanne used several of those. I think she meant the purple ones. Several of those today. Nice. Susan says these colors and combinations are delicious, aren't they? And only $6. And remember, everyone, these are vintage, probably antique at this point. And once these are gone, we are not getting any more. There is no more of these for us to get. I don't know of anybody who has these. So if you like what you see, I hope if it's within your realm of possibility, I hope you'll grab them, because once they're gone, and some of these are super limited in number, once they're gone, they're gone. And then we have these beautiful blues, and these are pentagons as well. These are $5. These don't have the flash on them at all. These are just transparent light, kind of like a light sky blue. Very pretty color. Susan says, my own city and state is like that. There's resistance to change. Yeah, and change is hard. I get it. If we had to we have majorly changed things we do many times. We know how hard change is. But like I said, I think when you are an organization that represents a large number of people, one, you do have to be cautious, right? There's that you have to be cautious that you don't change the wrong way. But you also have to be sometimes the most forward thinking of everybody, because you have to help those who don't know how to do things. As Andrew said, one of the changes, when we first opened the store, everything was written out by hand. We didn't have a POS system. Everything got written out by hand with a SKU and a description for their receipts. We used carbon copy receipts. Somewhere I still have a drawer full of those carbon copy receipts of everything we did. Made us do inventory certain ways and made us do buying things in certain ways. And then we had to grow. So we had to stop doing it that way. And we had to, we had to prioritize spending the money on an inventory system and a POS system that allowed us to grow. And we had to make that change, because that was not in our budget, because that's not how we started. But you have to adapt and you have to grow. And you can't just rely on the same old playbook, or we would still be handwriting. If we were still handwriting receipts and handwriting every tag that went onto a bead or every label that went onto a tray, we would not be anywhere near where we are. So, it just sometimes you have to make that call, and you have to make that transition. And we are lucky in that, we are our own business. So we don't have a board of people who tell us how to do things or what we're allowed to do. And I know the chamber does. But I would hope that the board members would be forward thinking and would be pushing for the chamber to do the best for all of its members. Sarah, that's exactly what we do right now. I'm talking about splitting inventory. If you have 10 of something, what happens? Everything that comes into the store now, that's what happens. And we've been working very hard on doing all of our back catalog. That's why you've seen thousands of items being entered into our online store here over the past few months, because we've been working on our back catalog of adding it to the online store and moving it, dividing them in half, moving them from the physical store to the online store. That's why we have so many things now in the online store. These that I'm showing you right here, the majority of them, I believe, are in the online store, but we're allowing you to buy it this way because sometimes they're hard to find that way, right? You look up vintage check glass and you want this exact one. The picture may look a little different, right? It looks different on a video than a picture. And when I cut them into these small portions like this for the videos, it makes it easier to know, okay, what they wanted was in this group of items. So that's why. Plus, I like to chat with you all, and it's good to show you stuff no matter what. Pam says, splitting like that is a lot of work. It is. I've talked about it a little bit on these videos, but every single thing we receive, this is how it works. We receive it. Well, first, Andrew orders it. He finds things that are exceptional. He works with vendors. He finds new vendors, or he, searches high and low for fun things and things that are quality. Then he purchases them. They get received in the shop. I open them. I go through everything and make sure first we got everything that we ordered. Then then once it's been looked at and make sure that it's arrived, we then take things. This strand coming out, this is one of my favorites, just to interrupt myself here. These are really cool. They're like this pillow shape thing, but they just have beautiful color. There's some brown in here. It's kind of like a greeny teal color. These are $8 a strand. So once we make sure we got everything, then, and we do all of the counts, then I have to work out, okay, let's open these and let's see how much they cost us. Okay, here's the cost. Does that cost have an extra discount on it or does it not? Does it have shipping on it? Does it not? So we have to take out everything, divide it out, and see how much each individual strand cost us. Then once we know the cost, then we know, okay, this is our markup because of course, we can't sell it at cost. We have to make some money. So what is our markup for things? Then once we apply that price, we say, okay, does anyone else have this that's more competitive than us? So we do research to try to figure out if other people have these at better prices. And if they do, we say, can we meet that price? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. If we can't, we just have to say, well, we hope that people know that we provide quality. We hope that people know that they can trust us. And we hope that people know that, people are loyal to us and they would rather purchase from us and help us rather than purchasing the cheapest thing possible anywhere. These are beautiful pink ones, by the way, if you're not seeing that. So we do that. Then we take everything and we split it. Sometimes it's equally. Sometimes if we buy 3 strands, 1 strand will go somewhere and 1 strand won't. They will go somewhere. 1 strand will go to the online store and 2 will go in store or vice versa, depending on how busy each location is. Right now, the online store over winter was busier, so it got the higher number when they were split. And as Andrew said, sometimes we don't make as big of a margin as we feel we need to, but we want to try to be as competitive as we can. So sometimes we lower our margins on some things, and sometimes we have to, because we do that, we have to put them a little bit higher on other things. But we try to do it in the most competitive way, even though sometimes we're only competing with online only stores. We still try to be as competitive as we can. We don't always have the same margins as online only, though. These ones are back to hexagons again, just a pretty little nice quality. So then once we've divided everything out, in the physical store, we make a SKU for it. So we have a spreadsheet, a big spreadsheet that has everything that's in the store that's ever been in the store. And we put it out. We put in the cost. We put in the retail. We give it a SKU number. We have some fields that automatically calculate and do some calculations for us and some combinations so that we get a good description out of it. We write the descriptions in that spreadsheet. Then we take that spreadsheet for the physical store and we put it into the Square inventory system. And we categorize it by, is this a stringing material? Is it a tool? Is it a gemstone bead? Is it a glass bead? Is it a wooden bead? We categorize it, we name it, we put in the cost, we put in how much of the inventory is going into the physical store, and then we hit OK, save. Then we go over to our handy dandy receipt printer, label printing program, and we fill out all that information. Well, this information, the name, the price, and we print the receipt, or we print the labels on our label printer. Then we take all of those labels and we put them on the new strands of beads. And sometimes those beads, like these ones, come in loose. So we have to strand them up first, and then we put the label on them. These are really cool, by the way. If you don't see these are kind of twisted coins in the pink and the gold color. So if they're loose, we strand them up. If they're not loose, we take we put the labels on the strands. Sometimes they also have vendor codes or vendor labels on them. So we have to remove the vendor labels and apply our own labels. And then we put them in the store somewhere, hopefully somewhere. We find a place for them, which our store, if you've seen the tours, is quite packed. And sometimes the hardest thing out of all of that process is finding a place where they're displayed well. Then we take the pieces that go into the online store and we start that process all over again. We have a separate spreadsheet for the online store. We give it a special online inventory number for the online store. And then we put in the costing and we take pictures of everything because, you know, people aren't coming in to see it. So we take pictures of everything that goes into the online store. We edit every single picture by hand for color correction. And usually each product gets 3 pictures. It gets a picture of it by itself, it gets a picture of it with a penny, and it gets a picture of it with a close-up. All 3 of those photos for every product that we put in has to be color corrected so that what you see is as close as we can possibly get to what you're going to get. We don't want you to be surprised saying, I ordered this, it looked blue, but it's actually black or gray. We don't want that. So we try our best. Sometimes we take the pictures, you know, every product we bring in, sometimes the pictures can be taken on the back desk. Sometimes the pictures have to be moved to the window and we have to wait for a sunny day because a day like today would not provide for good pictures. So sometimes we have to wait for a sunny day to get just the right picture of something. We try our best to show you the best image we can. And then once the pictures are taken, we add a product to the online store, put in the title, put in the SKU, put in the photos, put in the descriptions. We measure everything for the online store so that you know the millimeters and how big the actual beads are. So they have to be measured. Whereas in the physical store, we don't have to do that as much because obviously people can see them. So we measure everything. Then we have to weigh everything. Everything gets weighed so that we don't put in an overweight, so that we don't overcharge you in shipping amounts, because the shipping amount that you get charged is done by the weight of all of your items that we've entered and put into the online store. So once they're weighed, then we have to tag them with, like, for example, vintage check glass would be tagged with check glass so that you can search by that tag if you want to. It's tagged with vintage. It's also tagged with vintage check glass. And it's sometimes tagged by shape or by color, depending on what it is. So we put those tags in. Those tags are very specific in some cases, so that they show up in the proper collection in the online store. So, you know, we have a gemstone collection, right? So every gemstone has to be tagged with gemstone or it doesn't show up there. So not only does it have to be like amethyst and rondelle and sometimes size or color, but it also has to be tagged with gemstone. If we forget that, it doesn't show up for you all in the gemstone collection when somebody searches. Or when, as Andrew said, when somebody does a search, it has to have those right tags. So we try to think, what would people search for this for? So we use all the combinations we possibly can think of and tag our products with those so that when you do a search, it shows up. And then after those tags are done, we have to turn it on in all of the various places, on Instagram, on Facebook Shop, in the online store itself, on Google for Google, people who are looking on Google, which has been disconnected recently. I can't figure it out, but we have to make sure it's on for all of those places. And that's what it takes to get one product into the online store. And as Andrew said, when you're doing color correction, the colors may be off. We do our best to give you the best description of what it is. Some of our monitors are P3 color correct, which means they have the broadest color that they do in monitors. Some are not. So we try our best. We can't always afford the high-end P3 color monitors. Our Macs come with those. So my personal laptop and my desktop is color correct. We're pretty color correct that way. It shows the most colors. Our shop monitor is not. It's a higher end monitor, but it is not necessarily P3. So we try to get our best, and then I usually review all of those images on my other devices that are P3 color correct. And Pam's asking, do you do that by yourself? For years, I did all of that by myself. And now that we have some helpers, we farm some of that out to them to help us with some of that. And so now mostly I'm able to be more free to do some other things that I've always wanted to do, but we've never had the time. So now that we have help doing that, I still go through and I approve all of the listings generally and make sure that the colors look right and everything looks right. So there's still a final approval process that I do before they go live, but I don't have to do all of the work myself. But I still do some of it. I do very often go in and take pictures of new things or do all that. So yeah, that's what it takes to just put one product into our stores. And it's hard. So these are mother of pearl chips. And these are vintage mother of pearl chips. And they are drilled. And you just get a bag, a little bag, a 2x3 bag of vintage mother of pearl chips. We didn't feel like stringing these all up, so we made a bag of them. You get a bag of them for $8, which is an insanely good deal, I think. When you look at some of the other mother of pearl strands that we had, like yesterday, I think it was, they were $8 a strand. You're getting more for your money this way. Getting more for your money this way. Okay, so there's that. These ones aren't the same as the ones though yesterday. These are mostly all the kind of same color, whereas you had that beautiful color in the other ones that were like 2 or 3 different colors in there. And they had a more colorful flash than these do, but these are still really, really pretty and a really good deal for only $8 each. You can make nice little earrings with these, add them to your designs. I think those are nice. We have a number of these bags available. And I think these are in the online store, but I can't remember. But if not, you can take a picture and send us an email. Now, the last things I want to show you are some vintage and antique African trade beads. African trade beads. These are not in the online store. So we have this style. These are large vintage. I'm sure these are antique by now. African trade beads. These are $12 each. And you'll see some of them, they're a little nicked up, but these are old and these are very, very pretty. Andrew says, I love how they look like textiles, right? They are lovely. And as Andrew said, we're in the awkward between phase right now. We have growing pains. We're not old school as we used to be when it was just me and Andrew doing things, but we aren't fully established. People look at us like, okay, you've had your business 11 years, but we started from nearly nothing, everyone. We didn't have a lot of money to start out. Everything that we have built has been built only by, how much can we live on, or how little actually, how little can we live on, and how much can we reinvest back into the store? So even though we're 10, 11 years into all of this, we don't consider ourselves really fully established because, we're just now bringing in people to help us with some things. And so and then we hit a pandemic, and before the pandemic, we had our entire town torn up. So for about a year, no one visited us. And so we have these setbacks, and we are doing the best we can. People look at us sometimes, I think they get impatient, and I understand that. I get impatient sometimes when I don't get an order, but I've learned to become more and more patient because, I know what it's like. And not all businesses that have been around for a long time have the same kind of funding. If we could have been funded with, $100,000 to start our store, we could be much further along and we'd be doing a lot more, but we didn't have that. We had about $10,000. We had $9,000 and we raised another $1,000. That's how we started our store. And every year since then, I mean, we've been very, I want to say lucky, and we have been lucky, but we've also been very careful that our store makes a profit, or at least breaks even. The first few years, we've always made a little tiny bit of money at least, with the store expenses and the store itself. We pay taxes, let me tell you. We never get a return. We're always paying our taxes, because we always make sure the store makes money. That's what's important. You have to make sure the store continues to make money, or at least break even. And so when you start out with a little bit of money and you're very, conscious of making sure you don't lose money in a year, you grow slowly. And we've grown slowly, but we think that's the right thing to do. But if anyone has a free, $100,000 that they'd like to just hand over and give us with no strings attached, we'll grow faster and we'll build out something that's pretty magnificent. Because we have plans and we know what we need to do and what we want to do. But right now we don't have that kind of, potential yet. And we're working toward that. So even though we've been long established, for 10, 11 years, that's a long time for a small business, that's getting off the ground. But it's not always long enough, right? It's not long enough to some people are very lucky and they get funded and they get tons of money thrown at them and given to them, and that's not the way we did things. And so while we've been around a long time and we do have a lot of inventory and we have a lot of potential, we have to take things slowly, because when it all comes down to it, the two people that we can rely on are us, and we hope that the help that we have sticks with us. And but that can be, it's proven in the past to be up and down. We love our crew and our helpers right now, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to be with us. So it makes growth hard. Andrew said, I think we've grown exponentially, but it's been done by grit and sweat. And that's true. We've grown a lot. Just watch our 10-year anniversary video that I did, and you will see some of how we've grown. But we've done it by, sweat and grit and hard work, lots of hard work. Okay, so these are the $12 ones. I'm leaving them like this so that you can take a picture if you want to pick one, or, a specific one or two of them. All right. As Andrew said, we took very little and we built it into a livelihood for us. Yeah, we took $10,000 and we've built it into something that, now pays for our livelihood, our house, Star Cottage Studio. We've built it into something that is, I think, pretty great, but we're doing it slowly. And Sandra says you own 100% of your company, and that's important. Yes, we have been offered many times in the past. I think we're doing things right in a lot of ways, because we have been offered in the past silent partners, or so they say they're going to be silent partners, or people have wanted to give us, more money, but they wanted to partner up with us and they wanted to have a say or have a stake in the business. And we're just not, we're not at the point where we want to do that. So that's why, we may have been able to grow faster, but we wouldn't have always been able to assure that we would grow in the way that we feel is the right way. And, keeping this spirit of community and not turning into just somebody that pumps out beads because they're cheap and inexpensive, or, that we have high prices but 80% off sales. You never know what an investor might want to do. And if they get a large enough stake, you have to allow them to make some of those decisions. So we are our business, and we make sure that we do it in the way that we feel is right, because we'd rather, go forward making sure that we're doing right, or what we feel is right by people. So yeah. Andrew says, I apologize if the small business talk isn't interesting for folks. I think it's important to be honest and transparent. Me too. But it's also National Small Business Week. So you're getting, as he says, the true, right? This is the true we are a true small business. We are funded and founded by us. And you out there are our entire support system. You know, you are what make us work. And the more you stick with us and shop with us and, you know, believe in us, the more we can continue to do for all of you. By the way, these are $10 a bead. I have more of certain colors, but I'm not going to put them all out for you to choose from, because if you pick this one, for example, on a video, it's going to be hard for me to be like, okay, I want this particular one. I can't do that. I'll never find that one again. So if you pick a style here, these two mostly we have multiple styles of. These two, they're the only ones with blue. Show the size of the hole? Sure. And they may vary, but let me pull out my ruler. The size of the hole on this one in particular is about 4 millimeters. About 3 to 4 millimeters on that hole. Maybe closer to 3, actually. I'd say about 3 millimeters. Okay. And like I said, they may vary slightly, but they're all fairly, you know, around that area, around that 3 millimeter size. Andrew said, folks be showing you the glossy social media pretty, and that's fine. But here's the gristle and bone, or as they said in Roman times, warts and all, right? Yeah. You know, we are transparent. We try to be transparent because, you know, when an issue comes up and you're waiting for, you know, some period of time for your shipment to arrive or to even get shipped, and you're like, why is it taking so long? Why are those guys holding back my shipment? We're not doing it for the fun of it. We're doing it because we have so much to do, and we want to do the best by everybody. And sometimes things happen. And like I said, it's mostly me and Andrew doing a lot of stuff. And when we do have help or can get help, then we're able to do more. Andrew said, though, sometimes I put a filter on so you don't see my pimples, right? Everything's filtered. You know, if you don't watch these lives, you know, we write about it on our personal accounts. But if you don't write about these lives, or if you don't read these watch these lives. I have too many ideas in my head going on at the same time. If you don't watch these lives, you don't hear this from us. So you don't even know, unless you follow us personally and see some of this stuff sometimes. But on our, you know, our social media pages, the actual business pages, we try not to say too much like this. But these lives are a little chance for us to, you know, air some of that and to show you some of what goes on behind the scenes. And that's one of the reasons I really like them, because I like when companies and businesses are honest with their people. I prefer wholeheartedly to deal with honest businesses. And when I know a business is having a harder time getting my package out and they've been upfront about it and I know why, I don't mind. I don't mind anymore. Andrew said, they're like if you come in the shop. Yeah, we talk about this stuff in the shop all the time to people who want to know. So I like these lives for that. Next up, we have these antique large African chevron beads, $35 a piece. Pam said, then there's those of us who forgot it arrived. That happens, ma'am. You are not the only one who has missed a package arriving. Definitely not. So don't even think about it anymore, because it's don't make yourself feel bad, because that happens, and it happens to everyone. So these are $35 each. These are really, really special. These are beautiful, large chevron beads. Yes, Andrew said, only if folks want to know when they come in. We have other things we can talk about, and we don't force you to talk about this stuff to everyone who comes in. They're like, no wonder no one comes in their store. But no, when people start asking things, and we're pretty transparent even in person. You know, we have some trade secrets we have to keep to ourselves. There are, you know, but for the most part, we don't get wild with things. So these are the green, large, antique African chevrons. I only have these 3. So if there's a particular one you want, let me know. They're all around the same size, but there are, you know, there's a small, medium, and a large. Let me put them in that order, maybe. That's maybe better. if you want to look at it that way. Sometimes people want a larger one or a smaller one for something. Sandra says, I hate it when a business is so fake. It's good to hear the struggle sometimes. I think so too, especially small businesses. It helps, especially when you own a small business. As I know, Sandra, you sell things too. When you have your own small business, it's nice to hear other small businesses, whether it's good or bad sometimes, because you can relate. And it helps you're not doing everything wrong. Because sometimes it's very, with us, it can be an echo chamber. It's just me and Andrew talking to one another about things. And we're like, why are we doing things so wrong? What is happening? What are we doing wrong? And then we just realize all the small businesses are having a hard time right now. So we're not necessarily doing wrong things. The next ones up are even more rare. These are the large Chevron blue beads. These are $50 each. $50 each. And we only have these 2 left. We didn't have many of these to begin with. We sell these very slowly because they are expensive, but these are kind of like, these are true kind of collector pieces. These are things that, yes, you may use, but these are, don't feel guilty if ever you shouldn't ever feel guilty, but don't feel guilty about putting these in your collection and not using them, because these are truly, collector kind of pieces. $50 a bead. And only those 2 available if you would like them. And that, my friends, finishes up our little look of some of the vintage items we have in the physical store and in the online store in some cases. But I know a lot of you wanted to see some of our vintage stuff, so there's a pretty good look. I took 3 days to go through it, along with our talks. And I hope you enjoyed that. Let me go ahead and flip this camera around. Hi again. Hello, everyone. Sandra, the green ones were $35 each. $35 each for the green, which I like because green's more of my favorite color than blue, and they're a little bit less expensive. But the blue, I think, are more rare, which is why they are a little bit more expensive. So, how was that for you all? Did we go too much into stuff? I hope not. I'm sure there are some people, like I said, if you're watching this and you're like starting to fall asleep from all of our talking, the ones that what I would say is you might be better off tuning in around, we usually finish these within 2 hours. So by 7 p.m. Eastern time, you can watch the replay and watch it during your evening and just skip to the part where you see the table. When you first start seeing the table, you still may hear us talking like we did today about business and stuff, but at least you'll see the products at that point. And then once I flip the camera back around, I'm generally not going to be showing you any more products. So if the talking isn't for you and you're not, we try to build the community, but we know there are people out there who don't have the time or don't have the desire to hear about every little thing. So I do recommend, if you're watching this now and you're like, is that what it's always like? Yes. So if you don't like that, it's not always the same topic, but we talk a lot. And so I suggest if you just want to see products from us, just fast forward at around 7 p.m. Eastern time after our videos and fast forward to where you see the desk. And you'll see whatever we're showing that day. Andrew says, we're probably going to get an email from the chamber. Okay. Send me an email then. That'll be the opening to really discuss things if that's the case. But, I don't think it's bad to discuss things that you're having a realistic problem about. We don't complain about much. At least I don't think so. But we want to do what's best, and we want to see things being done that's best for everyone and for the community. So that's where we're at with that. Anyway, it's been a week. I've had a good time with all of you this week, the days that I've been here, and I do really, again, we can't thank you enough for your support and, for your love. You can buy beads anywhere. And, some of these beads you can't buy anywhere because we're the only ones that have them. But you can buy beads anywhere, and we are thankful when you choose to buy beads from us. And yeah, it's without you, again, we wouldn't be here. That's the case with any business. Without their supporters, I hate calling people customers, especially all of you, because you are more than customers to us. Um, at least most of you are. I know some of you, not the people watching this, we get orders from people. Sometimes they're one-offs, but they're still, they've entered into our community in some way. And we hope that they have a good time, even if they only spend, one order with us. Um, so I hate to say customers. I don't think that's right. So we say supporters a lot, and friends a lot, because many of you, whether virtually or in person, are our friends, and at least we consider you that. We see you almost every day. I see a lot of you out there more than I do see some of my in-person friends. So, I hope you know that. I hope you realize that. I hope you do understand how thankful we are for any business you send our way. As Andrew said, support comes in all ways. Let me see what else he said here. Andrew said, I don't think that it's bad either. I think he's talking about if they send us an email, but sometimes people are super conflict averse. They don't like hard conversations. I'm not great with hard conversations. Andrew takes those sometimes for me. Andrew says, I don't like having a sticky situation, but I will because it matters. If it matters, it's worth putting the time and work in. I have a hard time with my anxiety with hard situations, and I build up every situation nearly to be a hard situation. So I'm always fearful of those hard situations. But as he said, support comes in all forms too. You don't have to buy things from us. The fact that you are out there listening and responding in these videos, that's support. That's, the fact that you spent 2 hours, some of you have been here for almost 2 hours with me. That's more time than I spend with some of my family or friends most days. Like my relative people, like people that are, here. Um, so I appreciate that. And that's support. And when you hit that share button, that's giving not only us, not only letting us know that you're supporting us and that you believe in what we're doing, but you're telling Facebook that, or you're telling Instagram that, or you're telling YouTube that. You're telling all of your friends who see it. Or if you share it publicly, you're telling strangers you may not even know that you believe in us so much that you want them to see us. So that is support. When you purchase something, of course, that is support. You're saying that this is great. When you purchase something and then make something with it, and maybe you take it to a show and sell it, that's support. Even if you don't tell someone, I know people don't always want to give their sources away. That's a hard thing too in our side of things. But when you do that, that's support. When you take something and sell it online, that's support. When you tag us in a post, hashtag Allegory Gallery or @Allegory Gallery on pretty much any social media, when you do that and you're showing the world where you got your things, that's tremendous support. There are so many ways that you all support us that I don't know that you realize how much it means. A lot of businesses look at support as you bought our stuff. Thank you for supporting us. But I can say you hit that love button, or you hit the like button, or you thumbs up our YouTube video, or you subscribe to YouTube, or you hit that share button. That's all support. And we, like I said, we both said, as we started so small, we do not take that support for granted. We started with $10,000, which 9,000 of it was lucky enough to come from stock that I had from working at Apple for a period of time. 1,000 we raised on our own. And that $10,000 started with, Andrew had some people, and some of you are watching, I know. He had some people from his blog and some other things that he did online that were supporters. But we started with, you start with zero. You start with that number 0 on Facebook, and that number 0 on Instagram, and that number 0 on YouTube. And every time that first person or that 100th person or that, at this point, I think we're up to almost 8,000 followers, that 8,001st person hits that share button. We've built that, and you've helped us build everything we have by scratch, one step at a time, one share at a time, one like at a time. And we appreciate that, and we thank you for that. And it's all a way to support us. So thank you all for that. Andrew says, I think because of the way I grew up, I realize if you don't deal directly with someone, it will fester and get worse, like cancer. If you don't go in and dig out, it just spreads. It's not pretty or nice. You got to do it or deal with the consequences. Yeah, it's true. I'm not as good at that. I used to be. I hate hurting people's feelings. And that's one of my things. No one likes to hurt someone's feelings, right? But I get very anxious about it. But anyway, all of y'all are pretty much starting. I see take cares, heading out, got to go. So I'm going to wrap this up. But I do want to say we honestly do appreciate your support in whatever form it comes. Word of mouth, hitting the like button, writing comments, sharing posts, sharing your own things made with our stuff. We love to see that. We value it a lot. And, I don't want to say we value it a lot more than somebody who has thrown $500,000 to start a company, but because we've done the groundwork and because everything, came from the energy we put into our business, we believe in it. We believe in you, and we thank you for it. All right. So thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever it is in your neck of the woods. And we will see you back here, hopefully, as long as Babette and everybody stay good. We'll be back here on Monday with you. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.